Okay folks, so I'm just going to recap on the selection tools that we began with using the beach ball and the beach when we cut the beach ball out of the image, between the ellipse tool, marquee tool and the lasso tool, and also working between adding and subtracting from selections. So first thing I'm going to do is open up the images that I'm looking to use. If I hold down Control, I can click the two that I want and hit open, and I'll see them both side by side. Using the Move tool, I can jump between each of the images, and I can also pull them off the tab so that they're sitting side by side. Just pop that back up there, so it restores it to the full size of the window, and I can use the navigator to kind of zoom in a wee bit. I'm going to begin with the elliptical marquee tool and creating a new selection. This will give me a good starting point. Now if I hold down Shift, that constrains the proportions and creates a perfect circle for me, which will take up the majority of the subject area that I'm looking to select. And you'll notice that that's represented by these marching ants kind of dancing around in a circle. So all I want to do is try and push the perimeter of this out so that it goes around the outside of the ball, and it will allow me then to copy that area. Now what I'm going to do is then jump to my lasso tool, and at this point I'm going to create add to selection. Now what that allows me to do is draw from the inside, pushing the perimeter out, back again, and you'll notice that that starts adding on to the selection. Now when you're doing this, using the navigator tool is extremely handy because it allows you to zoom in and be a lot more accurate in what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so I continue working away with this. Now similarly, you can also subtract from a selection. Now say for example you go out with the area that you're looking to select, jump to the subtract from selection option and just chop it off. Okay, now it's going to take me a wee while just to go around all of this, so I'm just going to pause the video quickly, do that to just kind of catch things up. Okay, so that's me got my selection in place. Now what I'm looking to do is copy the selected area. Go to Edit Copy, jump over here to my beach image, and then Edit Paste. And you'll notice that it's taken in the selection of the ball only, which is what I was looking for. Now before we go any further, I'm going to name the layer. So where it says Layer 1, if I just double click with the left mouse and give it a name, call it Beach Ball. And then using the Move tool, I can move the image about wherever I want in this window. Now what I'm going to do is go to Edit Transform and then Scale. And that allows me then to scale or resize the image. Now, if I start pulling at these nodes, you'll notice I can squash and stretch the image, which isn't really what I'm looking for. I want to constrain the proportions to keep it, as close to the perfect circle that it is, or rather just keeping the proportions of the original image. So I'm just going to cancel that, go in and do it again, transform scale. And this time I'm going to hold down Shift, the arrow key pointing up the way between Control and Caps Lock, and that allows me, no matter which way I rotate the mouse, to keep the proportions of the ball. Now what I need to do is remember to let go of the mouse first before you let go of Shift, or sometimes you'll notice that it jumps and it squashes it, and you need to kind of do it again. So maybe go a wee bit smaller, so hold Shift again, pull it down, and once I'm happy with that, I can click on the wee tick up here to commit to my transform. I can still move it about as I'm selected. I'm on this layer, so this is the layer that I'm affecting. If I right click on this layer in the blue area here, I can duplicate the layer and make a copy. I'll name this beach ball number 2. And you'll notice that I now have beach ball number 2 selected. So by using the Move tool, I can then move the other ball. If I jump between beach ball 1, that's the ball that I'm moving, beach ball 2, that's the ball that I'm moving. Now another thing you can do is go into Edit Transform and use the Rotate function, which allows you to rotate the ball. You don't need to worry about holding Shift down when you're doing this, because you're not changing any of the proportions, you're simply just changing the position of the shape on this axis. So once I'm happy with that, I can tick it. I could even go back in again and rescale it, make it slightly smaller, make it look like it's in the distance, or just a smaller version of the ball. Once I've ticked that, that's me pretty much done. Now I can go to File Save As. By saving it as a PSD or Photoshop file, that allows me to retain all this information if I want to edit it further in the future. If I want it as a flat image, so just as it looks, I can change it to a JPEG and name it. It's handy to always keep your PSD files when you're starting to just get familiar with Photoshop. In fact, even when you are familiar with it, because it means you can always go back and edit and change things, and there's no harm in having two copies. At any point you can always save it as a JPEG, so always keep the PSD file so you can go and change it if you ever want to make any alterations or edits.